Fox's Marina in Ipswich is where we find the Hardy 40DS. It's been here pretty much since straight after the London Boat Show back in January, and Hardy have been ironing out any pre-production hiccups to take it out to sea. It is absolutely flat as a pancake out there, so we were never going to learn too much about the hull today, but it's based on the 42, which is tried and tested and very well proven, so shouldn't be too many worries there. But let's start, I think, by talking about the way this boat looks. We see countless concept drawings coming into the offices of MBY, so it's really nice to see a boat that has come out looking just like its concept drawing, one we saw a few years ago from Hardy, but they've kept the things that made it look so interesting that we really liked. Things like this inwardly raked, really purposeful windscreen, and the neat curved flick up here. Makes it look like the corner of a cat's eye or something like that. From down here, it's pretty much traditional Hardy, with the protruding stray rail here, but just because the hull coat is grey, it looks a little bit different, a bit more modern. But then of course, the Hardy mainstays are here. You have the space here to get up onto the side deck, and the side decks themselves are very wide. And as any of you who have watched our video from the London Boat Show will know, inside it's even more different. Let's go and have a look. We won't spend too much time talking about the interior because we did a full interior video at the London Boat Show. That video you can find on our website. So let's talk about driving, shall we? Because when you first get on board and you take the wheel, it all is very traditional Hardy, which is a good thing. As I said, this hull is based on the 42, which is a very good hull. And out there, even though it was completely flat calm, we were going over our own wake, over the photo boat's wake. The ride was very dry, very soft, and you really can picture it just bashing through anything. But what is quite nice is that sometimes on boats with this hull shape, when you turn the wheel, and this has got a few turns lock to lock, it has to be said, I sort of lost count, but it does turn around nice and swiftly. It doesn't wallow over too much, she stays nice and flat, turns swiftly, and you're quickly going back where you were coming from. The only slight letdown I thought the driving experience was the engine felt quite strained at the upper end of the rev limit. It's a 440 horsepower single Yanmar, and at 12 to 14 knots it feels absolutely fine. That's a really nice cruising speed. If you're going to be doing those speeds, then it feels fine. But I just thought up towards 18, 19 it really felt like it was struggling a little bit, a bit raucous, got a little bit too noisy for our liking in here. There are other engine options available, and I think if you want to be going cruising in the late teens, you're probably going to want a few more horsepower. When I climbed into this seat at the boat show, I thought, oh no, there's not enough headroom here, it all feels a little bit cramped, a little bit claustrophobic. But having spent a good 2-3 hours on board the boat, driving the boat, sitting in these two seats, I say that actually it feels fine. There is, especially with this hatch here, there's enough headroom. The view out is really, really good, because she just goes by up a touch when you really get going. I didn't touch the trim tabs all day. She trims nicely without them. This seat is a little bit close for comfort for me, and I worry that if you were bouncing around on these sprung seats in a rough sea, you would risk really clunking your head. There is the option to have a sunroof here, which is something I'd definitely go for. It would completely transform this area. Daylight today with the sun shining, it would be lovely to have this back, so I'd tick that option, and that's probably going to give you a bit more headroom. You see how you have the indent here for this hatch. You're likely to have the same with a sunroof, so I'd definitely go for that. Everything else though is fine. The seated position is very comfortable. I can reach everything nice and easily. Chart plot is exactly where you need it. That stuff's all good, but as I say, headroom with a sunroof would probably be a little bit better. Open these bifolding aluminium doors and you really start to see what this boat is all about. It's all about single level living. Probably for a couple who don't want to go up and down loads of levels anymore, they just want everything all in the same place, makes it very easy to use. So you have your galley here, which is the central focus, very close to the saloon. The galley is nicely concealed away, but you've got your cooker behind here, you've got your hob under here, sinks hidden under here, and then everything is very easy to bring out back to the cockpit. Set your table up here, and you don't have to worry about going up and down stairs. That is the entire point of this boat. This midships cabin here troubled me a little bit at London, because at the moment you're sort of lying like this, and then whoever's lying here with you either has their head here, which is a bit strange, or their feet, which is even stranger. But having spoken to Hardy about this today, what they've said they're going to do, which I think is a good move, is they will extend this here, so the bed comes to here. and joins all along here, which means that you have a double, so you're both lying the same way, and then just section this off, and it means you've got a little dedicated seat, probably made out of a different material, so you can sit down to put your shoes and socks on, etc. And that just makes far more sense in terms of a sleeping arrangement. Since London, they've also put these little lockers in the bulkhead here. It would be nice to see a little rope or something to hold that up, but even though they're a slightly odd shape, to be honest, in a cabin like this, you just want somewhere to chuck phone charge and things like that, so that's quite a good little move. And then of course you have your normal hanging locker behind the door. This is a little separate chart plotter, which you can see is placed in the forward cabin, and I think that's a really nice idea actually. You see it a lot on big boats, but I don't understand why people who build smaller boats don't do this more often, because if you're on anchor, it's great to be able to wake up and just quickly check that you haven't moved miles away from where you dropped the anchor. It's also on a completely separate feed from the one at the helm, so if that one goes down, it does mean, although it's in the forward cabin, you have got a backup somewhere on board. Nice touch. How to sum up the Hardy 40DS then? Well, I think principally it is exactly the sort of boat that Hardy need to be building, and yes, this is quite a change from what we've seen before, maybe too much the other way in terms of this interior, but it just shows that you can have a bit of pizzazz in here, and that was the whole point in this boat, and it's why they took it to the London Boat Show. I think the hull is fantastic. It's a proven hull, and it's going to take you through, you know, the worst sort of seas you're going to find. My only qualm would be with this particular engine. If you want to cruise in the high teens, that is, I think not necessarily you need a twin engine installation. I think you might need a few more horsepower on a single, but if you do want to cruise along at sort of 8 knots a lot of the time, max 14, 15, then I think you might have just found your next boat.